Have you ever been on a late-night train? The kind where the rhythmic clatter of the wheels is the only sound breaking the silence, where the dim lights flicker, casting long, dancing shadows down the empty corridors. That's where our story begins. On a train known only as the Midnight Special, Leo was a young journalist, always chasing the next big story. He'd heard whispers about the Midnight Special, a train that ran a desolate route through the forgotten countryside. The rumors were bizarre stories of passengers boarding but never arriving, of entire carriages vanishing between stations, dismissing them as local folklore. He bought a ticket, his notepad and camera ready. He was going to debunk the myth. The platform was old, shrouded in a thick, unnatural fog that muffled all sound. When the train arrived, it wasn't with a hiss of modern brakes, but with a low, mournful groan of metal on metal. It looked ancient, its dark green paint chipped and peeling, its windows clouded with grime. Leo felt a shiver, a sense of unease he couldn't quite place, but he shook it off and stepped aboard. The inside was just as eerie. The seats were upholstered in worn velvet, and the air was thick with the scent of dust and something else. Something faintly metallic and sweet. He found his carriage, number 7. There were only 4 other passengers. An elderly woman knitting silently in the corner, her needles clicking like tiny bones. A young couple, holding hands so tightly their knuckles were white, staring blankly out the window, and a businessman in a crisp suit, his face pale, constantly checking his watch as if time itself was slipping away from him. Leo tried to start a conversation, to get some local color for his article. "Quite the spooky old train, isn't it?" he said with a nervous laugh. No one responded. The old woman's needles clicked faster. The couple huddled closer. The businessman just glared at his watch. A profound, heavy silence settled over the carriage, broken only by the relentless clack-clack-clack-clack of the wheels on the track. An hour passed. Leo scribbled notes, trying to rationalize the strange atmosphere. He wrote about the flickering lights, the cold drafts that seemed to come from nowhere, the feeling of being watched. He decided to walk the length of the train, to see if other carriages were as strange as his. He passed through carriage 6, which was completely empty. Then 5, also empty. The further he walked, the colder it got. He reached carriage 4 and pushed the heavy door open. It was pitch black inside. He fumbled for his phone, turning on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing nothing. The carriage was an empty shell. No seats, no windows, just a bare metal floor and walls. It was like it had been stripped clean. A wave of cold dread washed over him. This wasn't right. He hurried back toward his carriage, his heart pounding in his chest. As he passed through carriage 6 again, he noticed something he'd missed before. Scratched into the grimy window were words, "Don't look back." He burst back into carriage 7, his breath catching in his throat. The businessman was gone. His briefcase lay open on the seat, papers scattered around it. His watch was on the floor, its glass cracked, the hands frozen at 12:03. Leo looked at his own phone. It was 12:03. "Where did he go?" Leo asked, his voice shaking. The young couple finally looked at him, their eyes wide with a terror so pure it chilled him to the bone. "The train takes them," the woman whispered, her voice barely audible. "One by one." Before Leo could ask what she meant, the train plunged into a tunnel. The world went completely dark. The sound of the wheels grew into a deafening roar, and a sudden, violent jolt threw him against the wall. He heard a scream, cut short. When the train emerged from the tunnel seconds later, the lights flickered back on to reveal another empty space. The young couple was gone. All that remained was a single white glove on the floor where they had been sitting. Now, it was just Leo and the old woman. The carriage felt impossibly large and empty. The clatter of the train sounded like a countdown. He stared at the woman, whose needles were now flying with inhuman speed. The clicking sound of frantic, maddening rhythm in the silence. "What is this train?" he demanded, his voice cracking. She didn't look up from her knitting. "It's a collection," she said, her voice a dry, papery rustle. "It collects souls who have nowhere else to go. It runs forever, never arriving, only taking." She finally lifted her head, and Leo saw that her eyes were not eyes at all, but dark, empty socket. Panic seized him. He had to get off. He scrambled for the door at the end of the carriage, the one leading to the outside. It was locked to the handle, cold and unmoving. He banged on the window, but the glass was thick and unyielding, showing only his own terrified reflection against the black, rushing landscape. "You can't leave," the old woman rasped behind him. "Once you board, you're part of the collection." He turned back, desperate. Her knitting was no longer a scarf or a sweater. She was knitting with a dark, red yarn, and the shape she was creating looked unnervingly like a human figure. A small, familiar figure holding a notepad. The train began to slow, its mournful groan echoing through the carriage. Outside, Leo could see the faint lights of a station ahead, the same desolate, fog-shrouded platform where he had boarded. Hope surged through him. A station! He could get off. He threw his full weight against the door again and again. The train was stopping. He could hear the squeal of the brakes. "Please," he begged. "Let me out." The old woman chuckled, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. "Oh, we're not stopping for you to get off, dearie. We're stopping for someone else to get on." As the train ground to a complete halt, the carriage door slid open with a soft hiss. Standing on the platform, silhouetted against the fog, was a lone figure. The figure stepped aboard, and as they moved into the dim light, Leo's blood ran cold. It was the businessman. His suit was tattered, his face was gaunt, and his eyes were hollow and lifeless. He walked past Leo as if he wasn't there and took his original seat, staring blankly ahead. Then the door to the next carriage slid open, and the young couple stepped through. Their faces just as vacant, their movements stiff and robotic. They sat down in their seats, their hands clasped, their dead eyes fixed on the window. Leo was trapped. He was the only living soul in a carriage of ghosts, a collection of the train's previous victims. The doors slid shut, and with another low groan, the midnight special began to move, pulling away from the phantom station, carrying its new collector's item into the endless night. Leo sank to the floor, the sound of the clicking needles filling his mind. He was part of the story now. Another whisper, another passenger who boarded the midnight special and was never seen again. Think about that the next time you're waiting for a train in the dead of night. Listen closely to the sound of its approach, and if it groans instead of hisses, maybe just wait for the next one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe out there.